hair is all tangled. Dang it. Seriously, if my hair gets tangled from being this long, then I don't even know. I don't even want to know how long Rapunzel has to like braid hers to, get it to be like not in complete knots and like all the time. Anyway, so yeah, we're talking about Tangled, the series in this video, which was something that I watched in 2022 after rewatching the Tangled movie. So yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about in this video. So going through all three seasons 1 to 3. So for a long while, I had no idea a Tangled animated series existed at all. I mean, like, Disney obviously did not do a very good job marketing it because, like, it really didn't get much attention. I mean, like, it has a small subgroup community on YouTube that is pretty passionate about it, but, like, it definitely hasn't gotten as much attention as it probably should have. Like, I don't know, it just wasn't really promoted, and I didn't know it existed until, like, 2022, but I discovered it, and, I liked the Tangled movie, and I was interested to see what it had going on, and there was a lot of good reviews of it, so I checked it out, and, yeah, so I'm going to be talking about it. So, what's kind of interesting to me is, the Tangled movie has a relatively simple plot with stakes that aren't super high. Like, it's basically centered around this one, princess who is trying to get away from her, who's trying to get away from her adopted mother Gothel and going to see the lights. And, like, I mean, that's sort of basically the whole plot of the movie. And it's not, like, super high stakes or anything. But, like, Tangled, the series, actually tries to tell a much bigger and grander story than the movie does, which is kind of interesting to me because you'd think it would be, like, the other way around, whereas the movie would be, like, this much higher stakes, production, whereas the show would be this more slice of life things. But that is not the case. And, the show tries to tell a much bigger and grander story than the movie does, which, so, does it succeed? Is it good or not? Well, let's talk about it. So, before we talk about the actual animated series, we of course have to talk about, the Tangled Before Ever After, which is the TV movie that's supposed to be, an introduction to the series. It's about 58 minutes long, including credits. So, the TV movie it's pretty good. It does a good job of reintroducing the movie characters to the audience for the first time, and also setting up the new focus for the story and introducing, like, new elements, like, for example, Cassandra, who is introduced in this movie. And, I like it. It's a good movie. It's definitely, perfectly serviceable introduction to the series. And, one of the things that I really liked about the Tangled series, especially in the first season and the TV movie, is that, at least as it starts out, the Tangled series is not afraid to go in its own direction and, like, do new stuff. It's not just, like, retreading old ground, even though, of course, Rapunzel does get her, like, magical hair back, but they do something different with it, and it sort of leads into this different plot line than what it was from the movie. But, so the series, like, does try to do its own thing, but it also feels like a very logical progression of the events of the movie. Like, the main focus of, I'll give you an example. So, Tangled Ever After, the movie, the main focus of it is that basically Rapunzel is, like, worried about settling down in Corona because, like, even though, everything seems perfect, she wants the chance to experience, so much more of the world because she's just been locked away in a tower for, like, literally 18 years of her life. And I love this because it makes so much sense, and it's a natural, like, extension of the character that was built up in the original Tangled movie, because she was so sheltered and she wants to go out and, see the world and everything. And Eugene's, motivations in the movie also make a lot of sense too, because he basically, unlike Rapunzel, has already, like, been all over the world, and he just wants to, like, actually settle down and have some stability in his life. So that it makes total sense from the characters that were actually, set up in the original movie. So that's one of the things that I really like about it. And I'll get more into talking about that stuff later down the line too, but yeah, just gonna leave it at that for now. Also, can we just say right now that Eugene and Rapunzel are, like, relationship goals? Like, I mean, obviously not for me. Like, they're not relationship goals for me. But I mean, for you guys, I mean, like, seriously, they have got to be one of the best animated couples out there. Like, I mean, yeah, sure. Like, the way their relationship started was somewhat questionable. I mean, like, with a teenage girl literally falling for the first man she met after being closed off from the world for her entire life. questionable, to be sure. But I mean, like, after, like, I mean, after you get past sort of the somewhat iffy way that they started their relationship in the original movie, like they honestly are just so incredibly adorable and precious and healthy together in this series. Like, and like it's so cool because they actually like talk about their problems and disagreements and support one another in what their goals are. And like Eugene is in the before after ever after movie, Eugene is like understanding of why Rapunzel doesn't want to marry him yet, and he doesn't get like mad or bitter about it, and he respects her when she says no to his proposal. And it's like, oh my gosh, they're just such a great couple, and they're so adorable, and I love them whenever they're on screen together. Like, they're just really a wholesome top tier ship. Your dream is for sure. And I mean, it's really obvious that the creators were the creators definitely did put effort into this series and trying to be, faithful to the original source material, and in many ways, in my opinion, enhancing it through some of the things that are, portrayed in the way that characters and certain themes develop in this series. That are extending out of the original movie. And so there definitely is a lot of passion and effort put into the Tangled animated series, much more so than you would find in maybe some other like spin-off shows off of popular movies. So in regards to some other stuff, like the animation in the Tangled series is honestly really good. I mean, it's very fluid and has a very high frame rate, and like the characters and the models are just like it's 2D animation, but I think they use like Flash or like 2D puppets or whatever it's called. I don't know the exact methods of how they do the animation for the Tangled series, but it's definitely is in a certain style, and like I mean, but it's really good and it's really well done because the characters just like very expressive, and like they don't usually stand still on the screen a lot, whereas in a lot of animated shows, especially 2D, you'll have characters like not having a bunch of movements that are not really a bunch of fluid movements. But in the Tangled series, like the characters like really do not stand still very much, and they're constantly like in motion, and I really like that, especially for 2D. That's definitely more challenging to do than maybe 3D, where you can just move the models with a computer. But yeah, I mean so I really like the animation in the series. There are also just some really cool Sakuga moments where the animation gets really impressive in like some of the fights and some of the magic scenes, which I really appreciated. And also another thing that's great about this show is the songs. The songs are really good, and like I mean, like not all of them are amazing, but a lot of them are. And like I mean, a lot of the songs in the series are honestly like way more memorable than the ones in the original movie. Like, I mean, I go back and rewatch and re-listen to several of the songs in this series from time to time. They're just really good. I mean, so getting beyond all that stuff, so let's talk about season 1, and because there's a lot to talk about in it. And so there is a lot of stuff that I like in season 1 of the show, but there's also some less interesting things in season 1 as well. So season 1, the thing about season 1 is there's a lot of filler in it, where it is really just like a good chunk of season 1 really is just mostly lighthearted and fun slice of life stuff for really about the first 2/3 of the season. And then, of course, we get to the last third of the season, which is some stuff definitely goes down in that part. But anyway, so now, in regards to this filler, I think, like, some of the filler is honestly good. It focuses a lot on, establishing character and the characters' relationships to one another. And that's that's pretty cool in a lot of ways. Like, I like that it's sort of getting into some of the the character traits that these characters have in the series, and exploring them and trying to set up a lot of things. And that's fine for a series that is beginning. It can you don't necessarily need to rush right into the plot and everything going on. You can take a lot of time to sort of build character and allow characters to breathe in the setting that they are that they're established in. And like for example, I think it's maybe the second episode of the series where basically what happens in it is like basically it's a complete filler episode, basically, where Rapunzel is basically trying to deal with the fact that someone in Corona like doesn't like her and is just like kind of obsessing over how this is something that really bothered her. And I mean, it should be like a kind of boring episode, and it's not like the most interesting thing ever, but it's also like kind of enjoyable because it does sort of get you into more of Rapunzel's head and how she sort of thinks about things, because she has been, so sheltered, and so like so much of her life was based around trying to, please her mother and getting her mother to like her. And you sort of see how that impacts her and the way she thinks, where she's not really able to let this go, that this person doesn't like her. And I sort of like the ending of how, again, this person in the end doesn't even come around to liking her, and she just has to be kind of okay with that. And it's a cool message. And it's just like, it's an episode that shouldn't be that great, but it's also like, it's enjoyable to watch. I liked it, and I feel like it did get me more endeared to the character of Rapunzel. And like I mean, honestly, probably one of my favorite non-plot related episodes in this series is episode 5 of season 1, which is where Eugene and Cassandra are basically locked in a dungeon by Rapunzel until they work out their issues with one another. And it's a scenario that leads to a lot of pretty hilarious and also endearing character interactions. And I just really like that episode. Like, in terms of plot, it doesn't move it forward at all, but in terms of actually seeing these characters interact off of one another, and maybe not necessarily getting character development, but I don't know, getting to learn more about them and the ways that they relate to each other, it's really good. And I like that the season 1 does focus on that a lot. However, there are also just other filler episodes in season 1 that I just think are really a waste of time, and I don't understand why they exist. For example, there's like an episode about Pascal running away from Rapunzel because like he's jealous that she has more friends now, which is just like, do we need an episode focused on the animal sidekick like that? And then there's later an episode about Maximus, the horse, who is like being jealous that another horse is showing him up. And I'm just like, why did we need this? And that's, by the freaking way, that is another thing that bothers me about this series to no end. They nerfed Maximus. Maximus was like so incredibly awesome and like cool in the original Tangled movie. He was just like this, he was basically like the Terminator horse who would like stop at nothing to accomplish his mission. But they nerfed him in the Tangled animated series. He's not nearly as cool. Like, he doesn't have nearly as much, Black Air Force energy as he does in the movie. Like, I don't know, why didn't we get, like, more awesome scenes with him in the show? Like, yes, there is, the stuff that happens in the finale of the series, where he does, like, fight against the Brotherhood and actually puts on a, like, really impressive showing. But why didn't we see anything else more like that? I mean, I don't know, it's just, like, very disappointing to me, because Maximus was, like, one of the best parts of the original Tangled movie, and it just doesn't really get that much time to shine in the Tangled animated series. So that's just something that bothers me. I mean, like, if you hadn't seen the movie, you might have mistaked him for just, like, kind of, good horsey in the show. I mean, it's just, I don't know, it just bothers me, that stuff. Yeah, but so that is one thing that bothers me. But also, going on, as for some of the other original characters introduced in season 1 of the series, so one of the main ones is Cassandra, who is introduced in the Tangled Before Ever After movie. And I know a lot of people don't like Cassandra. I honestly do. I honestly did really like her. She was a very entertaining character as, a foil to Eugene. And, I really liked her sarcastic and dry sense of humor. And I just really liked how, she played off Eugene's character, sort of serving as this, like, opposite to him in a lot of ways. And I feel like she was definitely a very good introduction to the series and the role that she played in season 1. And, like, by the way, that's another thing that I have to praise about this series, which is that, like, the series is honestly pretty good at writing dialogue and exchanges between characters, especially the core 3 group of, Rapunzel, Cassandra, and Eugene. And, like, I don't know, I just really like a lot of the interactions between the characters. They feel very natural and very, entertaining to watch. Like, especially in season 1, I feel like the character writing definitely did take a dip later in the season, but in the series, but we'll get to that later when we get to it. But I don't know, I could honestly just listen to Cass argue with Eugene for hours. It's so enormously entertaining. Also, we all agree, can we all agree, like, Cassandra is totally a lesbian, right? I mean, like, she is 100% in love with Rapunzel. I mean, it's never confirmed in the series, but come on, man. The creators knew exactly what they were doing, especially the freaking animators. Like, I mean, this is the gayest friendship I've ever seen. Like, all this talk about, oh, hey, Cassandra, we're friends, or we're like sisters. Bullshit. No way, man. Like, no, there was clear romantic subtext, and I will not be gaslit into believing that there was not. Like, anyway, I mean, like, a lot of people online, you see them, like, fans of the series, like, they end up shipping Cassandra and Rapunzel together because of a variety of reasons, and also because gay. But honestly, like, for me, OT3 for life, man. OT3 for life. Polyamory is the answer to all of life's problems. I mean, it really is, and I'm only half joking, by the way. No, but seriously, anyway, also, going on, in talking about things that are, actually relevant, but, anyway, so moving on, so Lance was also another character introduced in season 1, and he's basically, he's Eugene's, best friend, who, they've known each other since they were, growing up and stuff, and, he's, Lance is cool, but, I mean, I feel like he's an entertaining character, but I feel like he just, he wasn't utilized the best in the series. I mean, like, he was really only, when you think about it, like, he had some interesting, heartwarming moments at some points in the series, like, where he sort of had these moments of him, coming to try to, take responsibility for his previous actions, along with Eugene, and also his relationship with those two kids, Angry and Red. That was pretty cool. But, like, honestly, he's mostly just there for comic relief a lot of the time, and it doesn't really contribute much to where it just really sometimes feels like there's not really much of a reason for why he's there. So, I mean, I don't know. I feel like Lance was very underutilized, and if they were going to introduce him, he should have played a bigger part in the story and stuff. And also, Varian. Varian is a show original character introduced in season 1 of the series, and he is the best boy. He's amazing. I love basically everything about his character. Varian is best boy, and no one can tell me differently. He is like the best character in the series, and he's so fucking precious, and I love him. Varian, I'm obsessed with him. No, but seriously, I really like Varian. He's awesome in season 1 and throughout the rest of the series. In regards to Rapunzel herself, she is, she's also just a very likable protagonist. I mean, she's just Rapunzel is just a pure cinnamon roll, and she's just incredibly entertaining to watch, going through her life and being who she is. And I really like the character interactions she has with the rest of the cast. But I also like that the series does not make her, flawless and perfect either. She can lose her patience. She can, create problems when she's too gullible or unaware of how the world works. And we see that. And I like how, she's not just this, perfect role model. She actually does make mistakes and fuck-ups and, has to learn stuff in the series. And, also, Rapunzel has trauma, which automatically makes any character more interesting, of course. And seeing her, working through all that stuff, it's really cool. And, I like that. And, anyway, so getting back to talking about season 1 and, how it is paced. So, like I was saying before, the first 2/3 of season 1 are really just slice-of-life adventures that don't really have much bearing on the actual plot of the series. It'll occasionally cut back to, the black rocks growing and stuff like that, and that kind of thing, but it's mostly just slice-of-life adventures, episodic stuff, But things change very jarringly in the last third of the season with the Queen for a Day 2-parter, which just things get real heavy real fast in that one. And basically from there, by the way, Queen for a Day 2-parter was just really good, incredible 2-parter episodes that I really liked. And from there, after that point, it's basically a continuing narrative centered around best boy Varian, and him trying to, free his father from the amber that was created, and, all the trauma and danger that comes from it. And it's really cool. I mean it when I say that, I say this without a hint of hyperbole, that the last 4 episodes of season 1 of the Tangled animated series are some of the most engaged I was watching TV this year. They're so good, and, all of the drama and conflict that is brought about from the circumstances of the story feels completely natural. And that's one of the things I have to praise the most about it, which is, Varian turning from this, geeky science nerd into, becoming a villain and, threatening Rapunzel's family. It doesn't feel contrived at all, considering what happens. And, Rapunzel's decision to initially not help Varian also doesn't feel contrived at all, considering what happens and the circumstances she was placed in. Which is something that the series down the line would definitely, struggle with regarding conflict, where, things would feel a bit contrived and not really make the most sense, and characters sort of like have very flimsy motivations. But in in the last third of the season one, I feel like everything is very well set up and very well played out and very well written. So I really like the last third of season one. I think it's really good. I also love how the season it was really cool to me how season one actually kind of obviously you see like all these Disney princess movies where it's so cute that there are these princess figures that a bunch of little girls like dream about being and stuff, and even boys, I guess, dream about being princesses and stuff. But again, one of the things that's interesting to me about the Tangled animated series is that it actually sort of goes into territory that not really any other Disney property does, and actually kind of questions the monarchy, and showing how basically King Frederick, who is Rapunzel's father, who we basically didn't get to see almost anything of in the Tangled movie, the original movie. And we get to see how in this season, in season one, how, his rule and the decisions that he made, kind of caused a lot of problems. And he, basically abused his power for his own selfish purposes, kind of putting the rest of Corona in danger. And, I really like that, showing how, he sort of, put his needs and, above the common folk of Corona. And again, it makes the conflict that arises totally natural, because you can totally see why Varian feels like, that he and, his father have sort of been exploited by the monarchy, where everything that is basically going wrong is basically sort of because of the actions of King Frederick. So I really like that. And, but at the same time, you also understand that, Frederick isn't just, this evil dictator either. You understand why he's doing the things that he's doing. He's a human character, and he just wants so badly to keep his family safe from harm that he's willing to go to extreme lengths to make that happen, with obviously stealing the Sundrop flower and disregarding the prophecy that was made about it. So I really like that, and I just really like how everything is portrayed in with King Frederick in season one. I think it's really interesting stuff and makes a lot of sense as well. And it goes back to what I was saying before with the series, building on and exploring things in the movie with really great writing. You can see that the way Frederick is acting is a total. Even though we barely saw any of Frederick in the original Tangled movie, you can totally see how the events of the movie and what happened and what we know about the history of Corona would lead him to going down the path that he does and taking the actions that he does, which is just really great in that way. And that's one of the things that I really like about season one of the show. So my favorite, and also in regards to that, probably my favorite season in this entire show, that also once again ties back brilliantly with the movie, is when Rapunzel destroyed the tower that she was locked away in. And, that scene in, I think it was the fourth to last episode of the series, and, that was just such an incredibly fantastic scene. Everything about it, it wasn't even, it didn't even have, a ton of dialogue in it. It's just, the animation and the way, and Rapunzel's facial expressions. You don't even need words to describe, what she's feeling, because she's feeling so many incredibly conflicted emotions that come from the destruction of the tower, and how she, it was the place that she grew up and the place where she had all her memories, but also the place of a lot of trauma for her. And again, trauma, it makes everything more interesting. And I really like that. That's why that scene is so great in my opinion. So overall, yeah, so season one, it's a bit of a mixed bag. It has a lot of filler in it where it just feels like the series isn't really going anywhere, but a lot of that filler can be good as well. And I feel again, like I was saying before, the last third of season one is honestly really good, and I really like it. But the issue for me is that I feel like the series kind of peaked in season one, and, went through a bit of a decline as the series went on. And I'm going to explain what I'm talking about when I get into the later seasons. So let's talk about that now. So, the first strike against season two of the series, no best boy variant in it. Oh my gosh, it's such an insult. No, season two really isn't bad or anything. This season basically, of course there is no variant because he's in jail between seasons. But anyway, so basically in this season, the characters are all going on an adventure to find the source of the Black Rocks, and It's good. I mean, like, once again, there are some, good episodes in the season that I really like, for example, The Forest of No Return. There are, and there are, like, elements that are introduced in it. Like, for example, Adira is a character introduced this season who I found to be pretty cool, but also, like, kind of underutilized as well. Like, I feel like there could have been, more stuff she had to do rather than just, guiding you know, uh, guiding Rapunzel and her friends on the journey. I mean, like, she didn't really have. The thing back on it, she didn't really have like a ton to do in this series, and I feel like there should have definitely been more to her. But anyway, so once again, there are however, like, sort of similar to season one, a good bit of episodes in season two are technically skippable, even though they are sort of going on a journey to reach a destination rather than just sort of staying in Corona without a defined goal like they were in season one. Like, also this season would something that I noticed this season, season two did something kind of weird, which is like, what it would do is it would spend multiple episodes in the same location, like for example in Varderos or on the island or in the mansion, but like with different plot lines each time, but still in the same location. And I just feel like it's kind of weird because it just gets stale after a while, like of the the episodes staying in this same location. And I don't know, I just feel like there wasn't necessarily a need to it, and we didn't really need to spend as long as we did in some of these places that the characters did stay in. Like, and there, in addition to that, there are just some kind of really weird episodes in season two. Like, for example, the one where Rapunzel and her friends, they all get turned into birds. Like, what was with that? Like, I mean, this series definitely does play a bit fast and loose with the magic system in the show compared to where definitely a lot more fantastical things happen in the animated series compared to the movie, which was sort of really only had Rapunzel's magic hair and stuff. Whereas, this series definitely does introduce a lot more like magical stuff. So I mean, like, anyway, so this season doesn't really start getting like super serious until episode 15, really, with the with the Great Tree two-parter, which it's a really great two-parter, and it feels very high stakes, and there's honestly some really great action in it. But I mean, like, again, I feel like again this I don't know, I feel like a lot of the episodes in season two before the Great Tree, you could technically qualify them as sort of filler, even though they are like moving from place to place. I mean, like, and I mean, like, for me, anyway, so then after that, getting beyond the Great Tree two-parter, you have like the characters later get to this haunted mansion where they stay for like 3 episodes, and like some of the content there is honestly great. Like, for example, there's this the first episode in the haunted mansion is where basically all of the characters are replaced by doppelgangers of themselves from these mirrors, and the premise is like not the most original, but it's honestly really well done in the episode. However, there is also an episode where all the characters get turned into babies, and Rapunzel and Eugene have to take care of them, and it's like it's not really that great. I mean, like, yeah, it does have an interesting message at the end where they're sort of you have to see Rapunzel and Eugene like sort of dealing with these different types of parentage and how they would maybe in the future handle things if they were ever going to be parents. But I mean, like, I don't know, I just feel like the episode itself wasn't really that entertaining or interesting to me. Like, anyway, so after all that stuff, getting to the end of season two, the characters, finally end up making it to the Dark Kingdom, and the two-parter finale of season two is honestly pretty good. Like, I like a lot of the things in it. I like King Edmund, for example, who is the, king of the Dark Kingdom, who is introduced. He's honestly, like, he's honestly pretty funny, which I did not expect from such a, like, dark and brooding character, but like he did legitimately get a lot of laughs out of me at a lot of moments, but he's also sort of pretty interesting in what his history is and the history of the Dark Kingdom and what he's trying to do. Like, I also like a lot of other stuff about the finale. I like this whole question brought up about whether it's right to just let Rapunzel join with the Moonstone or not, what's going to happen to her, and I like a lot of the questions around that and stuff. However, what I really do wish that the Dark Kingdom was actually, like, more important to the story, because in the end, it just doesn't really amount to a ton of, I don't know, it just doesn't really amount to a ton, because, we sort of just we go there, we spend basically this entire season of build up trying to get to the Dark Kingdom, and then we sort of leave and never return to it. And I don't know. It just feels very, disappointing to me. I just wish it was, it's so well built up and it seems really cool, but it just like, we never really go back to it again after season 2. King Edmund, who seems like he would be more important, isn't really actually that important, and we don't really get to see any of the other, previous citizens of the Dark Kingdom, or really get any of their history tied in with the history of Corona as well. I don't know, it just feels like a big wasted opportunity, where the Dark Kingdom really wasn't as important as it should have been. So that's just something that bothers me. And of course, also, this season ends with season 2 ends with a massive cliffhanger, which probably had everyone like shitting their pants when they first watched it, which is that, Cassandra is the one who actually takes the Moonstone, which brings us to season 3. And, unfortunately, season 3 is probably my least favorite season of the show. I mean, like, I think the reveal that... Spoilers! Okay, spoilers. Click off now if you don't want to be spoiled. I think the reveal that Cassandra was actually Mother Gothel's, real daughter was, it's pretty cool reveal, and it definitely seems like, something that the writers had been planning, from the beginning, and it wasn't just a reveal that, like, came out of nowhere and it was like, oh, hey, we just want to, like, surprise you, so we're gonna introduce this aspect. It really did feel like the writers had been, building this up from the beginning, especially how they make it very clear in, like, the earlier episodes of the series that, like, Cassandra is actually adopted by the, leader of the guards and stuff. And, but here's my problem. I like it, as a reveal. I like the, scene where, we see what, Cassandra saw at the House of Xanteria, or whatever the fuck it was called, but like this reveal that Cassandra is Mother Gothel's daughter simply is not enough to make her, turn into a villain. I mean, and here's what I don't know. I just feel like Cassandra's, turn into villainy and her becoming like an antagonist. It really just, I don't know. It felt contrived and not really that well built up to. Because here's the thing. I get it. Okay, it is established that Cassandra has resentment towards Rapunzel. It is established that, she has been shown being jealous of her and not liking how she isn't listening to her and angry about, the damage to her arm that happened in the Great Tree two-parter. And, like, it's established how she isn't comfortable sharing her emotions. Like, all these pieces are there. The pieces are there for Cassandra to go down a dark path. The problem is, they aren't put together. Like, they're just scattered all over the place and not really put together in a coherent way. Like, and I don't know, it's just, that is a problem of Cassandra's character arc that happens in season 3 that really brings the whole season down for me. Like, contrast this to, for example, like, Catra in the She-Ra and the Princess of Power reboot that, is on Netflix, where Catra, sort of goes through a very similar, and I talked about this in my Catradora video a bit, where, Catra goes through a very similar character arc to, Cassandra does, where she, sort of goes down this really dark path and, sort of becomes resentful of, Adora and how, like, all the focus is always on her. But it's just written, like, so much better in, it's just written so much better in that series because, like, all these, aspects of why she would, do all these aspects of why she is doing the way she is doing are just put together, like, perfectly, where you can, like, totally understand, considering the circumstances and the things that happen, like, why Catra is going down this path. And I just don't really feel like, Cassandra's character arc and her turn into villainy was handled nearly as well or with as much grace as in She-Ra and the Princess of Power. Like, Cassandra's motivations are just, like, very confusing in this season. She wants to destroy Corona for really no reason. Like, Corona never really did anything to her. I mean, like, one of her main things was that she wanted to, gain the respect and admiration of the people of Corona. So I don't understand why she would just, like, destroy it. And she wants to destroy Rapunzel because she is, I mean, like, one of the main things is because she says she's angry over, like, Mother Gothel's death, when, really? I mean, like, why would you be so angry about that? Like, wouldn't you know that Rapunzel, like, obviously, Rapunzel is not, like, it's obvious that Rapunzel was not actually responsible for Mother Gothel's death or for the reason why, Mother Gothel basically left, Cassandra as as a child. Like, she was not responsible for that. And like the reason why it doesn't work, and why Catra, in the her character and her character arc in She-Ra and the Princess Power, works much better than Cassandra's does in Tangled the animated series, is because, like, here's the thing. Here's the main issue, with the crux of my issues with Cassandra's character arc in season 3, which is that Cassandra is set up as the most level-headed and intelligent of the core 3 group. Rapunzel is kind of too gullible, Eugene is kind of too full of himself, but, Cassandra is kind of like the straight man of the group. Straight, but, you know what I'm talking about. She's sort of like the more level-headed one, and the one who's able to assess situations better, and really not, necessarily, and really not necessarily like take these drastic extreme actions, like for example Rapunzel and Eugene might, if they were, because they're sort of more predisposed to. And she it's been shown multiple times that Rapunzel and Cassandra have the ability to actually sort of rectify any problems in their relationship that do come up. Like, and it hasn't been shown that they have this relationship where they never listen to each other. They do have like moments where they do have reconciliatory behavior and are able to listen to each other and hear each other out. So I don't really understand. It just doesn't really make any sense, Cassandra's character turn, where, I don't know. And it's also extremely out of character for Cassandra to just actually fall for Xantiri's manipulations. Like, it just was really, like, so incredibly strange to me that Cassandra, like, of all people, was actually falling for Xantiri's manipulations and was just listening to this random ghost child that appeared in, like, the mansion that was, like, owned by a follower of Xantiri. Like, you don't think that's suspicious at all? Like, and, because here's the thing, Cassandra's whole thing that is introduced about her character in season 1 is that she does not trust suspicious characters. Like, she assumes, like, a lot of the time, she assumes suspicious motives in people. So why would she just trust Xantiri, like this little child that she met in the, possessed house that they went to? It doesn't make any sense. It's just out of character for the sake of basically driving conflict, and I really don't like that. Because here's the thing, I want to like the Moonstone Cass arc. I want to like it because in theory it seems like it should be really cool, where you have this character who is set up as a good guy in the beginning and a really great friend to Rapunzel and Eugene and everything, and and it seems like it should be, her actually turning evil and, going to the dark side is something that would be really unexpected and also would really be really heartbreaking. Sort of similar to, what they did with Varian in season 1, where he's introduced as this, quirky, fun, good guy character, but then becomes a villain. But unlike with Varian, who it makes total sense, the reasons why he's doing what he's doing, it just doesn't. It's not really like that for Cassandra. Like, it's just not written well. And when it's the main focus of season 3, the Moonstone Cass arc is the main focus of season 3, it just really drags the whole thing down and really makes me not like it all that much. There are some great moments in it, don't get me wrong. Like, there are some good moments in season 3. Like, for example, the episode A Tale of Two Sisters, I honestly thought was pretty good and had a lot of, interesting character interactions, even though, how they got there in the first place was kind of, contrived and didn't really make any sense. And of course, oh my gosh, Nothing Left to Lose, one of the greatest musical numbers of all time. Like, that song is so fucking good. It was just, everything about it, the animation, the performances, the duet between her and Varian. The whole, like, connective tissue of the plot and, like, the motivations for why Cassandra is doing what she's doing, it doesn't really shake out that well, but it did have its moments, for sure, in the season. But But again, as a whole, the Moonstone Cass arc just really is not handled well. It's really poorly written. So, you know what that means? It's rewrite time, which means we're going to be talking about how I think that the season 3 probably could have been written significantly better if you just make a few simple changes to, Cassandra's motivations and what she's trying to do. So basically, one thing that I think would have been really obvious to do with Cassandra, and the reason why she takes the Moonstone in the first place, is that basically, Cassandra would take the Moonstone not because she, like, wants to claim power for herself, but because in reality, what would happen and what would make more sense is that, Cassandra would take the Moonstone because she loves Rapunzel and doesn't want her to die, because, as we of course learn in season... in the finale of, as we of course learn in the finale of the series, where you see the Moonstone and the Sunstone are put together, and they basically destroy Zantiri, who is possessing them. We see that, when the Moonstone and the Sunstone are brought together, they kill the person who is attached to them. So what would make so much more sense is basically Cassandra would find out that, oh, if Cassandra basically touches the Moonstone to destroy it, then she herself will be destroyed. So she basically takes the Moonstone to protect Rapunzel, which has been, a major theme in what her motivations are throughout the series, like showing when she tried to protect Rapunzel in the Great Tree two-parter. So it would be very consistent with that. And, she follows... Then, after that, Cassandra basically follows a very similar story to Elsa from Frozen, where, she is not able to control the powers of the Moonstone, so she leaves and tries to, removes the rocks from Corona. She basically tries to use the power to remove the rocks that have been, assaulting Corona by herself, basically to prove her worth, because, again, like I was saying before, her whole thing is that she wanted to basically prove herself worthy and gain the admiration of the citizens of Corona. But, and so she would still be trying to do that rather than, causing harm to Corona like she would so strangely do in season 3 in what actually happened. But in the end, she just isn't able to control her power, so she ends up creating the fear rocks that happen in episode 10 of season 3, and, accidentally, as the Moonstone starts corrupting her, which ends up turning the kingdom against her because they, are afraid of her and all the things she's doing outside of her control. And then basically what happens is, she, of course, ends up kidnapping Varian to get the incantation to be able to control her powers, because, the kingdom doesn't just trust her enough to hand it over to her because they're afraid of her and they don't, like the idea of what she could possibly do if she gets the power. And so basically then, Cassandra and Rapunzel still end up fighting each other, but, it's a much more, natural circumstance of how it happens that comes out of a, failing to understand each other, even though they're just trying to, protect one another. And this, in the end, causes, Zantiri to be fully released from, and remade into a mortal form after, they end up clashing and the Moonstone and the Sunstone, they sort of end up coming into indirect contact, and this releases Zantiri from, her otherworldly, chains. And then what basically happens is, after that, Cassandra and Rapunzel realize what they've done, and the rest of the season is dedicated to them trying to stop Zantiri. So that's basically my rewrite of the Cassandra Moonstone arc in season 3. I feel like it makes Cassandra's motivations make a lot more sense than what they were, and, it doesn't drag out the Cass Moonstone plotline any longer than it needs to be. So, yeah, I feel like that would be... I don't know, it just feels like a much more sensible solution for how to handle a conflict between Rapunzel and Cassandra than what we actually got in... what we actually got in the series, which was, in my opinion, really handled very poorly in a lot of ways and just really dragged out the whole season. So, anyway, getting past that rewrite and getting back to talking about some of the other stuff in season 3, Best Boy Varian comes back into the picture, which, of course, is, really great. Always love to see it. More Varian, please, always. But, I gotta say, I think his turn, Varian's turn, with him turning back into a good guy was... it was way too sudden for me. Again, maybe not way too sudden. It does make sense because he was never really, this really bad guy who was, trying to cause all this harm. In the end, all he really cared about was saving his dad, and he was just trying to go to extreme lengths to, make that happen. And, of course, you see Rapunzel, at the end of the two-parter premiere of, season 3, Rapunzel ends up saving his dad. So, of course, after that happens, he has really no reason to, go back to, doing all this bad stuff. But again, my issue with it is that, I don't know, the whole Sapporians taking over Corona thing, the plotline that happened in the two-parter premiere of the season, I don't know, it just feels like it was, it feels like it was a lot of wasted potential, and you could have done a lot more with it, and, it was just wrapped up way too quickly. Literally 1.5 episodes since the first half of the first episode of season 3 is just them, trying to get away from the Dark Kingdom after, they were left there, and then just, it's basically 1.5 episodes left trying to deal with, the Sapporian takeover of the kingdom, which just really doesn't really amount to much in the end. I feel like it was a lot of a missed opportunity where you could do a lot more stuff with that, and you could sort of expand this narrative of like the disestablishment of the monarchy and like people being dissatisfied with that, and you can do a lot more with it, but they really didn't. And like after the two-part premiere of the season 3, then there's just like 7 more mostly fillery episodes where after that Varian is kind of just there and sort of unofficially joins the main cast after he sort of worked with all these like rebels trying to take over the kingdom. And I don't know, it's just like most of the episodes aren't really that good outside of honestly the one of them that I really did enjoy was the Cassandra and Rapunzel flashback episode, where the series decides to remind us of when she was actually a well-written character. So that's cool. I mean, it's just, I don't know, it's just very jarring for me to when I was watching the series to see how basically by the 3rd season of the show, it's still wasting like so much time, with these filler episodes that don't really go anywhere, and only cutting back to Cassandra and what she's up to occasionally during them. And I don't know, it just feels like just felt very out of place, especially in season 3, where things should be like more, the tension should be more heightened than ever in terms of what's going on. I mean, one of the things I kind of find hilarious is how in these filler episodes that take place, before episode 10, like, there's never any moment where the residents of Corona ever express, like, anger or resentment at what Varian did. It's just sort of, like, accepted that, he's with the Corona citizens now, and that's just, like, the new normal. And, like, but then you get to episode 10, which is a plot-relevant episode, the first one since the second episode of the season, and, like, the writers just remembered, oh, yeah, they are actually, angry at him and resentful for him, working with these people who took over the kingdom. Like, well, where was any of that in the last in the last 7 filler episodes? Like, it's just so very jarring to like see that sort of aspect of his character that was completely ignored before, and just like to have it actually reappear again in an episode you can tell where the plot is actually kind of important. So it's just like, it's, I don't know. I mean, I joke, but like episode 10 of the season is actually really great. And where you see, Varian has to go through this arc of trying to, work to make it up to the citizens of Corona for, what he sort of did and the actions that he undertook and the dark path he went down to, and, to actually use his genius for good and trying to, save them. And, it's really awesome to see. And it's focused on Varian. So anything focused on Varian is automatically awesome because he's best boy, like I said. And, eventually, getting on from there, we get to the 3-part finale of the series, and to end the series off on. And I mean, honestly, the 3-part finale is fine. I mean, like, it's nothing great, it's nothing terrible either. So, like, again, they drag out the Moonstone Cassandra plotline until the next to last episode, and it's just getting really stale by this point, especially because of how, contrived it feels. Like, literally in the episode before literally what happens in the episode before the 3-part finale is Cassandra basically goes through this realization of, oh, wait, I literally have no reason to actually do the things that I'm doing, so I'm just literally gonna go back to, Rapunzel, and I'm just gonna go back to Rapunzel and try to repair my friendship with her. But, finally she actually realized that, and, like, it's in the dumbest way too, though, where basically, in the episode before that, which was where, I think it was the Tale of Two Sisters episodes, where Zentiri actually did use a bit of clever manipulation to try to get Cassandra to do what she wanted, where she basically, made it seem like, Rapunzel held this one mirror away from her so that, Cassandra didn't realize that, her mother had, like, some kind of, emotional attachment and love for her. And she was sort of trying to make it seem like that, Cassandra was, she was trying to make it seem to Cassandra that, Rapunzel was, like, manipulating her and didn't want to see that. And, it could sort of drive a further rift in their relationship with that. And it's sort of a clever bit of manipulation in that way. But then, literally in the next episode after that, you just see, like, Cassandra finds out immediately that, Zentiri was basically fooled her into, thinking that was the case. And she finds out immediately, which really doesn't, like, you had this like complex, well, not really that complex, but still like clever plan to, trick Cassandra into doing what you want, and then she just finds out about it immediately. Like, what the heck? What come on, really? Like, that's just such a lame like plot point, and feels incredibly contrived, where you just sort of need to have it to where you make Cassandra go what you want her to do, and do what you want her to do. I'm talking about the writers, by the way, not Zantiri. Like, the writers are the real ones, pulling the strings on Cassandra and manipulating her to do what they want. Not Zantiri, apparently. I mean, but no, I mean, like, in the episode before the 3-part finale, Cassandra basically just goes back to Rapunzel in disguise, of course, because she can't she's still worried about Rapunzel not trusting her and everything. And then, like, again, she basically realizes that everything she's been doing was, like, completely wrong and, like, not justified in any way. And, Rapunzel never, like, actually, was never actually, trying to manipulate her and deceive her. But then, like, literally at the end of the episode, she just decides, okay, I understand all this, but I'm still going to go and do bad things again and, like, try to take over the nation, the city of, or the kingdom of Corona, because you basically fought back against me when you thought I was a danger, when I clearly presented myself as a danger to you all before. It's so dumb. And again, this gets to a big point where I was talking about before. Like, she is making these very irrational character decisions, Cassandra is, that don't really fit with her character, because she was built up as someone who was more rational than the rest of the cast, and sort of was more able to keep a cool head in terms of analyzing situations. And I don't know, it just feels so contrived. And anyway, so yeah, so that's something that really bothers me, and it all sort of really builds up to it's really not a very well handled, build up to the ultimate ending of the series, which is, of course, the 3-part finale, which I will now get into talk about. So there are some cool moments in the finale, like, for example, Rapunzel and Cassandra's fight that happens in it is pretty cool and pretty well animated. Varian, him having a moment where, like, he basically, shows a lot of intelligence, where he put a failsafe in his father's helmet that, basically made it to where if he ever, turned against them because of the whole, Brotherhood being taken over plotline, and that was cool. Max's fight against the Brotherhood, he finally gets a real moment to show off his Chad Black Air Force energy, and, just takes on some of the most experienced and skilled warriors of all time, like, single-handedly, basically. Like, yes! We need the Maximal Maximus in this show, and we finally got him in the series finale, so that's at least good, and we, and it did like that. There's also some not great stuff in this finale, though, for sure. I mean, one of the things that really bothered me in the finale is that, like, Lance and the other characters are basically written out of the plot when they get sucked into the portal that is created, like, literally by accident. Like, nothing that the villains actually do, end up sending them into this portal. They just get sucked in there by accident when, I think it was this, animal character basically accidentally, sucked them all in there. And it just feels like why? It's just such bad writing and contrived writing to get them, basically out of the story. And, and again, the whole portal plot line, which, with them trying to create it, goes absolutely nowhere because they don't use it, and it ends up amounting to nothing, which really makes the first part of the 3-part finale seem kind of pointless, in addition to the fact that, there was all this physical comedy in the, first part of the 3-part finale, where basically, there was this whole thing about all the characters having their brains switched with monkeys, which feels incredibly out of place considering the stakes that considering the stakes that we are at by this point in the ending of the show. I mean, it's just I don't know. It's just also, other things that bother me. I mean, the whole being stuck in the portal thing, it really amounts to nothing. It's really a colossal waste of time where we could have been, focusing on more interesting stuff. And it just really feels like it's, meant to drag out the plot. Whereas, really, you could have actually had the ending of the series. You didn't really even need it in 3 parts. If you cut out some of the wasted, plot lines in the finale that don't really go anywhere, you could have had it in 2 episodes, honestly. I mean, also, other things that bother me about the finale, Eugene, he, as a character, doesn't really have this grand moment where he does something really important, and, it just kind of seems like he got shafted in the finale and didn't really do all that much, and I don't know, it feels like he should have had, definitely more of an impact on the actual ending of the series. And, Zantiri, also other stuff, Zantiri going full bad guy and, turning into this, Cthulhu, like, I don't know, not Cthulhu, but like this giant demon creature. I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know, and going full bad guy, it wasn't really the best, well built up. Like, I don't know, we literally have like one episode left of screen time for her to be the big bad, because before that, of course, until the next to last episode of the series, we still have Cassandra as a villain, fighting against Rapunzel, and her whole redemption, just like it felt very rushed, and we didn't really get a ton of time for her to actually, recognize the error of her ways and her mistakes and sort of make up for that. And I don't know, like the final fight against Zantiri also in the series, like, where all of the, villagers sort of rise up against him slash her. I mean, I'm not exactly sure on Zantiri's gender. I think it's a she, but never mind. Whatever. So basically, the final fight against them is not really very interesting. It's honestly kind of bland in a lot of ways. It's just this like kind of big monster fight where, of course, no one really ends up dying in the end, which, I don't know, it just feels like, doesn't have a ton of stakes. I mean, like, considering this just massive, incredible, like, giant building that has been, sorry, not building, villain that has been built up for, so long as this ultimate evil that doesn't really accomplish much in the end and gets defeated in one episode. I don't know, it just feels very anticlimactic. And, like, I mean, overall, the ending of the series is fine, but it just feels like there's, I don't know, it just, like, when I was watching the season finale of Tangled the animated series, like, I did not hate it. I thought it was fine. It didn't, like, I don't know, it didn't make me enraged in any way or pissed off. Like, it was just fine. The way that everyone's character ends up, you understand that, like, of course Cassandra had to kind of leave in the end because, of course, it's sort of, if she was still there and active in the story after the ending of the series, it would sort of contradict the special that happens, special that takes place later, which showcases Eugene and Rapunzel's wedding, where, of course, she can't be there, so she has to be off doing other things, which, fine. I mean, we see, of course, Eugene basically finally, finally proposing to Rapunzel, and them becoming, spouses, which, yeah, we knew that was going to happen, and, it's fine. It makes sense, considering, everything that had been building up in their relationship by that point, but, like, I don't know, it just feels like, by the ending of the series, it's not that, like, I don't know, it just feels like there were so many missed opportunities that were not really taken advantage of in Tangled the animated series. Like, for example, why was the Dark Kingdom not more important? Why was Eugene's true heritage not more important? Why was, the Brotherhood not more important? Like, why wasn't Varian more important? Why didn't he have a much bigger role to play in the third season rather than, he does some stuff, and, like, he does have a part to play, and he does have screen time, which is always great because, of course, Varian is the best character, but he didn't really have this sort of really impactful moment of, actually accomplishing anything in the finale, where, again, the whole portal machine that he created didn't actually do anything and just ended up getting them stuck in there because, the writers just wanted them basically written out of the finale because all of it was basically focused on, Cassandra and Rapunzel. And, again, and Cassandra and Rapunzel's relationship in season 3 is really not written all that well at all. And, again, it sort of just shafts the other characters where they didn't really get a ton to actually do and accomplish in the finale of the series. And that just really bothers me. And I just, like, I don't know, it's just all these aspects of the series that have all these potential to be explored in very interesting ways that just aren't really gone into that in depth. And I'm just like, here's the thing, the biggest missed opportunity for me, and the biggest thing that was left unaddressed by the finale of the series, is King Frederick's character, who, I thought, again, like I was saying before, I was really praising him in season 1, because I thought he was really interesting, and, the show showed how there were a lot of reasons why, Frederick maybe doesn't deserve to be king, and, I thought the show was actually going to go somewhere with this theme of, questioning the monarchy and everything, but, it doesn't, honestly. It kind of plays it safe, and after season 1, Frederick isn't in season 2. He never appears there because Cassandra and Rapunzel and everyone else are just going on a journey to find the Dark Kingdom. And then in season 3, like, Frederick is literally just completely irrelevant. He doesn't have any importance in the story. Literally, he just has his memory wiped by the Sapporians, and the most, focus he gets in the season is not, like, actually trying to, deal with any of the problems he has, created, and trying to regain the trust of the of the citizens of Corona, or even just recognizing that he needs to step down as monarch. It's just about him, like, rekindling his relationship with his wife. And why? There's so much more interesting things you could have done with it, but nothing is actually done with it. Nothing is really done with this whole thing, everything that is brought up with, Frederick's character about how, he's kind of this honestly terrible king who maybe doesn't deserve to rule over the citizens. But, like, nothing is actually done with that in the end. It's just, I don't know, it just feels like such a wasted opportunity. Like, in the end, so my overall thoughts on Tangled the series is, like, there was definitely a lot more effort put into this series than there needed to be for a sequel series to an animated film. Like, you could have just made a middle-of-the-road, series meant to, cater to fans of the, cater to fans of the movie who just wanted to see their characters that they liked again, and just, like, have this fun slice-of-life adventure show where it's just relatively, inconsequential plot lines, but they didn't. And, they actually did put, the writers and the creators of the series actually did put real effort into creating it. And, I admire the ambition and what they tried to do, because there are a lot of pretty good aspects of the series, but at the same time, like, the writers could have been more ambitious, and I feel like, they could have done more with it, and a lot of the things in the series that are, brought up and, established are not really taken advantage of in the end, and I just feel like that's a big problem for me. And of course, like I said before, the Moonstone Cassandra plotline was handled pretty badly in season 3, which just really brings down the whole season for me. So I'm glad I watched this show. I do think it enhanced my experience of the Tangled franchise somewhat, where obviously you get into a lot of stuff that's not exactly covered in the original Tangled movie, because it's just a movie. It doesn't have like a ton of time to go into in depth about a lot of things, and I do like a lot of the stuff that it introduced, but there are also a lot of significant problems that hold this series back from actually being something really great. So overall, Tangled the series, I would say I think I liked season 1 most of all, then season 2, then season 3, which was my least favorite. It's a good series, and it does have some very enjoyable aspects of it, and some stuff that is honestly really great, but some stuff that also really isn't handled very well at all, and some major missed opportunities. So yeah, that's basically my review of Tangled series. This was definitely a long review, but I definitely had a lot to say about it. So anyway, if you guys have your own thoughts, post down in the comments below. This has been A Romantic Shipper. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, remember, just because you can't feel love doesn't mean you shouldn't want other people to. Bye!